We have an update on the mother who was forced to leave the hospital while in active labor, and she delivered her baby 8 minutes later on the side of the road in her truck.
This man literally was driving at 45, 50 miles an hour, and he sees his daughter's head emerging and doesn't know what to do. He should have never been in that situation.
As a medical professional, how can you send someone away that's in pain? Even that, just that alone should be enough. So I just couldn't imagine it happening to anyone, but experiencing it, it just shows me that it must be. I know I wasn't the first person that this happened to. I seen it in Texas days before, and then it was happening to me. So I know it's happened for her, and it's going to continue until everyone speaks up and advocates for each other, advocates for the problem, and take a stand to the situation, because we should not still be experiencing stuff like this in our country.
Before that recording, she cried unbearably. Like, it was a cry that I couldn't imagine. Pleading to this day, and I was so upset, but I didn't want me to get upset. I didn't want to show it. I want to remain calm for my family. Yeah.
You've had other children.
I told her it was my fourth child. It's my fourth girl vaginally. So I've had children before. So she knew that, as you have more children, naturally labor becomes more progressive. So it could go from 3 centimeters to 10 in a matter of a minute. And a lot of people know that, but this is what she does, but she didn't know that, or she didn't care. And then the doctor never showed her face, so I was never assessed by a doctor. It was just, you gotta go because the doctor said you're not in labor, because I told her you're not in labor, pretty much.
Have you been to this hospital?
And yeah, I didn't expect none of this. I thought it was a Christian-based facility, which they claim to be, but they didn't treat me with care at all. So, yeah, we were surprised to be treated so horribly.
The hospital, Franciscan Health Crown Point, Indiana, has now fired the nurse and the doctor who both failed Mercedes Wells that day.
What's up, everybody? Welcome back to the channel. It's your girl Gracie D. I hope you all are doing amazing. Thank you so much for clicking on this episode. I really do appreciate your love and support on this channel. So you all have seen this video of Mercedes Wells, that's black woman that was dismissed, that was chased out of the hospital by nurses and the doctor because they said that she was not in labor. I mean, she later gave birth 8 minutes later after leaving the hospital in their car. The husband had to pull over on the side of the road to help her give birth. Thanks to God that now as we are speaking, this baby is safe. Nothing happened to the mother and nothing happened to the baby. The doctors that were responsible for ignoring her have been fired. And this is what should be happening to this kind of doctors. And I've watched so many of these videos actually, because this is the second video that we've seen like in a row in a span of less than 2 weeks. And I was just sitting here and saying that, I think this kind of institutions, especially when it comes to hospitals, everybody that is present, everybody that saw what happened and ignored, said nothing about it, and they stayed quiet, they should be held accountable. Like, it should be a crime in the United States of America when you visit a hospital and the doctors and the nurses are ignoring you, and there are people that are just around there, either the watchman, either the officers or the cleaners, or either other patients that are actually seeing doctors mistreating you and they keep quiet about it. They should be held accountable, because there has to be a way to stop this. Like, black women cannot continue on experiencing this in 2025. They need to come up with a way on how to stop this, honestly. And the only way I think that this should be possible is that it has to be made a crime for people to just sit there and watch as a sick person, as a pregnant black woman, as a patient being dismissed by doctors and nurses. I want us to watch some of these few clips that I've gathered for you guys. Every clip and every stitch that you'll be seeing on this episode, credits belongs to the original creators of these videos that you're seeing on your screens. So let's just dive right ahead and we'll be back with more commentary.
So Franciscan, the hospital in Indiana, fired the nurse and the physician.
An update to a story we've covered all week. The Northwest Indiana hospital that turned away a pregnant mother in labor has now fired some of those involved. Mercedes Wells says she tried to get admitted at Franciscan Health Crown Point on Sunday. However, she was told she wasn't far enough along in her labor and that she needed to come back. After leaving the hospital and on her way to Community Hospital in Munster, Wells gave birth on the side of the road. Now the hospital says that the physician and the nurse directly involved with her care are no longer employed by Franciscan. In explaining the decision to remove employees, the hospital president and CEO says they failed to listen to Wells. He says, quote, as an experienced mother who publicly acknowledged having previously given birth at our hospital with a positive experience, she knew something was not right.
So kudos to them for taking the initiative. Now pay them family them money, right? Pay them family them money. Now, I don't understand why Dallas Regional Medical Center in Texas did not act with the quickness. Why it took people blasting them on social media. Why it took people protesting in front of their hospital for them to take the initiative and do the same thing. Because apparently they're saying she's on administrative leave. What? We want this woman fired. She needs to be fired along with other people from the staff that night. Because I initially thought she was fired. She was not fired. She was on administrative paid leave. So you definitely know that in Texas, Dallas Regional Medical Center is definitely not for us. Because the way how y'all did not act at all, it's under investigation. It did not take Franciscan in Indiana to take that long to do their investigation and saw wrong from right and acted with the quickness.
What up, Nurse Gang? What up, TikTok? So we are headed back down to Indiana, to Franciscan Crown Point Hospital. I never thought I would be reporting this, and it's a Saturday. It's my day off, but this could not wait. Remember Mercedes Wells? The black laboring mother who was put out of the hospital, discharged, and had her baby in her truck. 8 minutes later, her husband had to help her deliver the baby. Well, yeah. The nurse and the doctor got fired. You heard that right. A doctor got fired. They got the man's picture everywhere. The CEO of the hospital said, not up in here. Said, oh, we do not condone this. Full stop. We are not a part of this. Now, the nurses in my comments is why I tell you, we always got the real deal over here because we're all nurses over here. The nurses said, ain't no way the nurse was in this by herself. The doctor had to never take his ass in there, and he had to sign off on the discharge. Nurses cannot discharge patients, not even from L&D. Nurses cannot do it. The doctor was just as bad. They kicked that doctor out, and they fired that nurse. The doctor will probably never work again. Let's take a deeper look into it. Doctor and nurse fired from hospital after turning away woman in labor 8 minutes before she gave birth. The CEO said, compassionate concern is absent when a caregiver fails to listen to a patient who is clearly in pain and vulnerable. This is Leon and Mercedes Wells with the little mama. We haven't got the baby's name, but the little mama. And look, little mama look like she's still upset about that shit. CEO Raymond Grady told People magazine in a statement on Friday, November 21st, the physician and the nurse directly involved with Mrs. Wells' care are no longer employed by Franciscan Crown Point. In addition to the doctor and nurse involved being terminated, Grady has mandated cultural competence training for all labor and delivery staff and mandated that all pregnant patients leaving the labor and delivery unit will be examined by a physician before they leave that hospital. He also said, on behalf of Franciscan Alliance and Franciscan Health Crown Point, I apologize to Ms. Wells and her family for failing to live up to our Franciscan values. We are committed to holding ourselves accountable through our actions so that every patient is heard and receives compassionate, equitable care. Any evidence of actions to the contrary will not be tolerated. A change has come. One time for the CEO, the hospital CEO, because I've never seen a hospital CEO hold a doctor accountable or respond like this. One time for the mom of Mercedes for recording this and putting it out to social media. One time for People Magazine.
We have an update. The doctor and nurse who turned away a pregnant woman in active labor from a hospital have been fired. They're both fired. I'm Dr. Frida. I had this full conversation on the Don Lemon Show this week, November 19th. Check my caption for details on how to watch that full video. But just to give you a refresher, Mercedes Wells is the 38-year-old mom who was pregnant. She went to Franciscan Health Crown Point Hospital in Indiana. She was in active labor, and this was not her first pregnancy. She knows what labor is, and her contractions were even 1 minute apart. She was at that hospital for hours, at least 5 hours, and the nurse told her, you just got to go home. And once you progress further, maybe you can come back. So they begged to stay. She was clearly in active labor. We saw the video, but she was rolled away and they had security to escort her out. And so then her husband, Leon Wells, drove her, headed to another hospital. But 8 minutes later, she gave birth to her baby in the car with no medical assistance. Now that doctor and the nurse who were in charge of her care and who turned her away have both been fired. The CEO of the hospital said that he is now initiating a cultural competency course for people who are dealing with women in labor. He also said that he's going to require that before any pregnant woman in labor is sent away, that the actual doctor sees her. Yeah. To get evidence-based health information, be sure to click the link in my bio and visit drfrida.com. Also, make sure you join me every Monday at noon Eastern Standard Time for my live stream on celebrity health and all the hot health topics in the headlines.
So you've seen the video, like this beautiful woman explained to these nurses on how she was feeling. Like, this is not the first baby that she's having. This was her fourth baby. So she exactly knew how it feels when you're about to give birth. But this nurse and this doctor decided to dismiss her, decided to ignore her and chase her out of the hospital just because simply she's been there for 5 hours. It's not like they said that they don't have money to pay, because I saw some people having crazy comments on, maybe there is more to the story, but no. Sorry to disappoint you, because there is no more to this story. It's just that this doctor and this nurse decided to dismiss and ignore this black woman who was in active labor. Because so many of you love coming into conclusion and think that people will just be posting videos for clicks and all that. No, so many of you don't believe that actually black women do go through things. You don't believe that black women do experience things during labor. And I said even in the last video that I did about black women, how they feel very unsafe in these hospitals. And there is this comment of this person that actually said and really caught my attention. And the comment was like, black women are treated in hospitals or by these doctors the same way black men are treated by police officers. And it's quite sad, guys. I mean, you are going to a hospital to find care. You're going there because you trust them that they're going to take care of you, only for them to dismiss your pain, only for them to ignore you, only for them to chase you out of the hospital. I can imagine how the husband felt very helpless at this specific time. Like, it's crazy. It's crazy that we're seeing this happening in a first world country. It's crazy that your government, your politicians will just sit there and boast how great your country is when such things are happening to American citizens. And it's quite sad because there's some of you that's gonna be just around this kind of hospitals, this kind of people, this kind of nurses, this kind of doctors, and just think it's okay and never call out this behavior. Honestly, if you don't call out this behavior, if you don't stand up for such people that are being ignored by these doctors, that are being dismissed by these doctors, then there is no difference between you and these kind of doctors. There is no difference between you and these racist people, because your heart must be full of hatred if you're just gonna sit there and stay quiet because it's not hurting you, because you're not the one that is actually treating that person that way. No, it's time for each and every other person to stand up for these people that are being discriminated against, to stand up for black people. You cannot tell me you're not racist when you see this kind of behaviors and say nothing about it and do nothing about it. It's good that this wife is now, or this woman is safe, the baby was safe, nothing bad happened to them, because there's so many things that could have went wrong on that day. But thanks to God that she got to live and tell her story. You all know what's been happening. You all know that black women lose their lives 3 times compared to white women during labor and during, giving birth, because of these kind of doctors. I mean, why do you go and take a course? Why do you go to school, study, spend your money just to go and lose your job in this kind of a manner? Just to go and ignore patients? I don't get to understand this kind of behavior, guys. I don't get to understand this kind of hatred. I mean, you must be having a very dark heart for you to just sit there and ignore a person that is telling you that they are in pain. It's not like they're talking in a language that you don't understand. They're telling you that they're in labor, they're telling you that they're having contractions, but you just chose not to listen. It's sad that this is happening. It's sad that black people have to experience this. Just because of your skin color, doctors have been dismissing black women's pain for centuries. They've been doing this to black women. And it's in 2025. Can you imagine? In the United States of America, in 2025, black women are still experiencing this. Guys, this needs to stop. White people, white doctors, white nurses, I mean, anyone that is working anywhere in a hospital and you just sit there and watch these kind of people treat patients like this, there is something wrong with you. And your heart must be very dark. I don't get to understand how these people have so much empathy and sympathy for a dog, for animals, for cats, for birds, more than to other human beings just because of their skin color. I never get to understand it, guys. So right now, as we are talking, as I said, the hospital has now officially fired the doctor and the nurse. And in as much as I was expecting more from this hospital, I was just expecting that this hospital is gonna be shut down, honestly. That is what I was expecting, because at this point, we cannot keep on tolerating this kind of behavior. But we all know that this level of accountability is rare. And I hope that in future, they'll do better. In future, when they're actually hiring these nurses and these doctors, they'll actually do better. The hospital has not only fired the doctor and the nurse that were responsible for this woman, they've also issued a public apology. They've also got to have some policy changes that I will be looking at right now, what they actually said. The hospital has also changed its policy, and they'll say that any pregnant woman who comes into triage must now be evaluated by a physician before being sent home. A rushed judgment call is no longer allowed. And here are the 3 things they've said should always happen before a pregnant woman is discharged from triage: a hands-on evaluation by a qualified clinician, a clear documentation of symptoms like pressure, pain, contraction, and fetal movement, a real conversation explaining why she's being discharged and what symptoms require coming back immediately. This is also a reminder, guys, that as a black woman, as a black patient, you should not just visit the hospital by yourself. Until we see some real change, it's just to be on the safe side, just to be safe, just to be okay. Make sure that you have someone. And there is this video that I did that I'll be posting of this woman that is also calling out for people, to kind of create some WhatsApp group or a group where people can be there for each other, for those people that don't have anyone to go to the hospital with when they are not feeling Okay, and I think that is a good way of doing it for those people that don't have close friends, for those people that are maybe living in different states from their family members. I don't know what you all think about this, but I would really love to know what your thoughts are on the comment section. Thank you so much for watching up to this part. Kindly consider subscribing to the channel if you haven't. We are road to 60,000 subscribers. Give this video a thumbs up, and until the next episode, bye.